Welcome back, class, to today's explainer. All right, we are diving deep into Chapter 4 of your management syllabus today, and we're going to completely decode this whole concept of organizing for your upcoming exams. Look, I get it. Staring at textbook pages can kind of feel a bit dry, right? So my goal today is to literally bring these concepts to life. We're going to break down the exact blueprints of how successful businesses actually operate, and I promise you, by the end of this, you'll be visualizing organizational structures like an absolute pro.
Okay, let's jump straight into this foundational metaphor right off the bat, because it perfectly sets the stage for everything we're about to unpack. Think of a business like a living, breathing human being. If your business plan is the brain, making all those high-level intellectual decisions and figuring out where to go, well, the organization is the physical body that actually executes those decisions. Think about it. A brilliant brain can't really do much without arms and legs to do the heavy lifting, right? The organization is exactly what gives the business its form, its structure, and its actual ability to get things done.
So, how do we formally define this? Well, to ace your exams, you're going to want to remember the core concept laid out by management thinker Chester I. Bernard. He defines organizing as an activity conducted through the cooperation of two or more people. In everyday words, organizing is ultimately about building a structure that enables the delegation of authority and responsibility. It's about taking a group of people, giving them a common goal, and setting up a super clear system so absolutely everyone knows exactly what their job is and, crucially, who they report to.
Here's our game plan for today's explainer. First, what is organizing? Second, the organizing process. Third, types of structures. Fourth, decentralization and delegation. And finally, some killer exam tips and tricks.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the organizing process.
So how does a business actually construct this organizational body step by step? I mean, it doesn't just happen overnight. According to Peter F. Drucker, forming an organization is a highly scientific process. He warned that without proper formation, an organization simply cannot sustain itself. It'll slowly fall apart. There are exactly 7 steps here, and a super common mistake students make is forgetting that skipping even one single step ruins the whole foundation. You absolutely must start with the clarification of objectives. You need to know the goal before you can organize people to reach it. From there, you list out all the necessary functions, group them into departments, like sales or accounts, determine the specific positions needed, delegate the power to do those jobs, establish how everyone interacts, and finally drop that formal organizational chart.
Moving right along to Section 2, types of structures.
Just like people, organizational bodies come in completely different shapes and sizes, mostly based on what the business actually does. The absolute simplest and oldest type of structure is the linear organization. Actually, you'll often hear it called the army organization. You can visibly trace how supreme authority flows in a completely straight line downwards. It goes right from the board of directors to the general manager, down to the department heads, and finally to the clerks and workers. Power goes strictly top to bottom, and responsibility flows right back up from bottom to top. It's incredibly straightforward and works perfectly for smaller businesses where tight control and discipline are the main focus.
But what happens when things get a bit more complex? In stark contrast to that linear model, we have the functional organization. See, the linear structure has a major flaw. It focuses way too much on the department and not quite enough on specialized work. Enter the functional structure, which distributes work based on pure expertise. Experts like a quality control officer or a maintenance engineer give orders directly to the employees and workers based solely on their specific specialized knowledge. So in this setup, an employee might actually get instructions from several different functional experts rather than just one single boss. It's a real game changer for complex operations.
Now listen up, because a classic exam question is definitely going to ask you to compare formal and informal organizations. This is absolutely crucial. Always remember that the formal organization is carefully planned by administrators to achieve a specific goal. It's rigid, it lacks flexibility. But wherever there is a formal organization, an informal organization naturally springs right up alongside it. This informal organization is completely spontaneous. It's a natural network formed purely by human relations, common interests, and office friendships. Your textbook beautifully describes this informal structure as the shadow of the formal structure. It doesn't have a formal chart, but trust me, it is always there. Oh, and before we move on from structures, we can't forget the modern matrix organization. This one is super popular right now in modern tech and construction companies. It's basically a hybrid. It combines a general, function-based structure with a specific, temporary, project-based structure.
So imagine you have a functional manager for all IT experts, right? But those same IT experts are also assigned to specific project managers to, say, build a new app. It's literally the ultimate combination of steady departmentalization and agile project work.
All right, let's jump into section 3, decentralization and delegation. So once this whole structure is built, we need a nervous system to actually distribute power and make the body move. Think about it. If top-level management tries to make every single tiny decision, they're going to become a massive bottleneck. And that is exactly where decentralization comes in. As Henry Fayol pointed out, it means assigning powers to subordinates to enable the distribution of work and to include them in the decision-making process. By pushing that power down the chain, top-level managers massively reduce their own workload, which lets them focus on big strategic policies. Meanwhile, it totally boosts the motivation and confidence of lower-level employees because, well, they're actually trusted to make real decisions.
Okay, pay close attention to this next concept because Lewis Allen's tripod of delegation is undoubtedly one of the most important concepts in this entire chapter. If you want to delegate a task effectively, you can't just tell someone to do it and walk away. No way. You absolutely must balance 3 independent but mutually connected pillars. If even one leg of this tripod is missing or broken, the entire delegation process just collapses.
Here's exactly how the tripod works. First up, you have the entrustment of responsibility. This is the actual duty assigned to the subordinate to accomplish a particular task. Second, you have the conferment of authority. You've got to give them the actual power and resources to execute that duty. I mean, giving someone responsibility without the authority to actually do it, that's just a recipe for failure. Third, and perhaps most importantly, is the creation of accountability. Even though you delegated the work, the subordinate is obligated to report back and explain their performance. And here is the kicker. Ultimate accountability cannot be passed on. The top-level manager is still ultimately on the hook for the final result. All right, class, pencils ready for section 4, exam tips and tricks.
We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, from the 7 steps of organizing to Louis Allen's tripod. So let's distill all of this into a high-speed cheat sheet specifically designed to help you ace your board exams. First pro tip. Examiners absolutely love when you cite specific management thinkers. It shows you didn't just memorize definitions, but you actually know who established the theories. Make sure to use this list to attach the right name to the right concept in your long essay answers. Link Bernard to cooperation, Fayol to decentralization, Allen to the delegation tripod, and Drucker to the scientific organizing process. Honestly, dropping these names is such an easy way to secure extra marks.
Second tip, if you ever freeze up during a short answer question and just can't remember how these chapters connect, take a breath and lean back on this simple biological metaphor to instantly remember their relationships. Planning is the brain doing the intellectual thinking. Organization is the structural body. And delegation of authority, that's the nervous system sending the signals and power throughout the body so it can actually move and function.
Third tip, for your multiple choice section, you really want to look out for specific trigger words. If you see a question mentioning a mixture, a modern kind of organization, or specifically a combination of project structure and general structure, your brain should immediately flash to one answer. The answer is absolutely always matrix organization. Similarly, the secret trigger words for informal organization are human relations, spontaneous, or the phrase, no formal charts can be prepared. If the exam question talks about something acting as a shadow to the main formal structure, boom, you are looking at the informal organization. All right, I'm going to leave you with this provocative pop quiz straight from your textbook exercises to test your brand new knowledge. Ready? What cannot be delegated from the following? Is it A, authority, B, responsibility, C, accountability, or D, work? Think really hard about Lewis Allen's tripod and the flow of reporting we just discussed. What is the one absolute thing a manager can never, ever completely pass down the chain? Keep studying, lock in your answer, and I'll see you in our next explainer.